What is going on, comic fans? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. It's Sunday night. That means this is at week's end, the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics and more. And we have a very, very, very exciting show tonight. We are definitely talking the most recent episode of Ahsoka. We're going to kick off the show with that. A very special panel of guests to help out with that. But before we dive into any of that, check this out. Huge shout out and thank you to Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to hit up their website, follow them on social media. If you need anything cleaned or pressed, my boy Justin has got you covered. The link is in the description. Let him know you found him via the channel. And don't forget, Comics Curing Cancer is coming October 20th through 22nd. Follow the IG page or hit me up directly on IG or Rob's Fat Stacks or DJ Links. Still looking for donations to make this as big and as badass as possible. We need donations, so be sure to hit us up. And let's go ahead and bring in the panel, starting with none other than my brother from another mother, hailing all the way from the South, more Southern than me, the most Southern guy I know.
I hope that's good.
It's got to be good. I know someone we could ask if it's good or not. And that's Andy. Andy, welcome back. Andy's muted.
Yeah, new guy things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's one other opinion that I think should weigh in on if the farther south you go, the better it is. Let's ask him. Chaos, what do you think?
I think I'm technically further south than everyone here, aren't I?
I would call it west.
It's southwest, but I mean on the
I'm in Florida.
Oh well, I guess you win. Somewhere else. Yeah.
You might have me beaten though. I don't know.
Yeah, I might. I'm pretty close. Yeah.
So let's give a quick hello to the chat real quick. And first off, thank you guys for being here. Andy, I can't wait to pick your brain in Chaos. We'll talk about it, but there was a post you put out, and the second I saw it, I hit you up immediately. I'm like, I've talked to him before about coming on the show and talking Tom King stuff and diving in on stories like that, but this was like a prime opportunity. I figured he has plenty to say about it, and he didn't put in his post, so we'll explore that. But let's say hello to the chat first. Las Crucius, of course, clocking in. Woohoo early on. Hello from New Mexico. DJ Links is in the building. What is going on? We are Legion AF. Flash Ray Video. What is up? What is up? Austin LeMay. Scott. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Sector. Comic Man Andy. Kyle. Hello. House of L Comics is in the building. Couching and slouching. Paul from ABX is here. And that is it for the chat. Oh, there we go. What is going on, Vogs? Hope you guys are doing well. So let's just dive right into it because there's really a lot to discuss. I have questions. And I feel like we have a strong enough panel to have some of them answer. But first off, let's kick it off with what happened with this episode, I guess. If Andy, you want to give like a quick recap, because as far as plot wise goes, there's not much to discuss plot wise, but it's all in the details kind of thing.
Oh, there's some decent meat and potatoes here plot wise. It does advance the plot a bit, but it's really the showdown that we were anticipating either in episode 4 or 5, depending on how they play things out. And I can't wait to hear what a lot of other people have to say about that, because we're full spoilers, right? Like
yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, did she die? Did she not die? My favorite thing coming out of this past week's episode so far is complaining about how Marvel has so much better transitions than anybody else in there, and then yet Dave Filoni delivered one of the best seamless transitions from that ocean to the world beyond worlds there, and I can't stop watching that like 3, 4, 5 seconds right there, and it's just a masterpiece.
Well, I can synopsize the episode real quick, and then y'all can choose to grab on whatever, because that was one of the strengths of this one, I think, because there wasn't a lot of plot. It was a lot of action, much like the episode before, but where this one was different, there's so much to discuss from just this action stuff compared to the last one. It was just night and day with how to kind of balance action with substance kind of thing. This one really just knocked it out of the park. But Ahsoka and Sabine arrive on that planet from the beginning of Star Trek Into Darkness, with the Red Forest. That's where the ruins were. And they just onslaught straight to the ruins, trying to get to it. They have the star map fired up. They're trying to get there and shut it down before they get the coordinates and hyperspace to the galaxy Thrawn's in. A battle ensues with Sabine and Ren. a battle ensues with Ahsoka and that mystery Sith character. The battle progresses to Baylan and Ahsoka. Baylan is presumed dead. Sabine goes with the rest of them through the portal to the other galaxy. That's it. But so much happens in all that.
Ahsoka's presumed
Ahsoka's assumed dead.
Baylan, they send the shuttle down for Baylan and Shin-Hati, and they bring Sabine along. That but the statement from Ahsoka was at the end of the last episode or the beginning of this episode to Sabine rings pretty solid here, doesn't it? Can I trust you?
Mm-hmm.
And in the time of need, she broke down.
Right. Sabine, that is. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of there was a lot going on, but to Mark's point, I don't think there wasn't necessarily a lot of plot. I mean, it's the old. I mean, how many times have we seen? Oh, are they going to be able to stop this before it gets to 100% type thing? You know, that happens in lots of different things. You know, but still, there was Ahsoka at one point thought Sabine was dead, right? And then she turned out not to be dead. And then she thought that Sabine was gonna stand her ground, and she ended up giving the key back to Baylan. And then we have, is Ahsoka dead or not? That's, even though some of these have happened before, the way that it was presented and the way that everything transpired made for a really enjoyable episode, I think.
I think one of the biggest part, like there was again, like I literally ran through like the episode, but so much happened. I put it out. This was easily my favorite episode I've seen so far out of the season. I can't imagine enjoying one more than this. But we even got like Sabine attempting to use the Force and stuff, and like tricking the viewers. Like, is this going to be the moment where they kind of just like push this character above and beyond unnecessarily and piss a lot of people off? But they treated that moment with a lot of grace. I think actually had her hand out, and like even Ren flinched and said, "You don't have any power," and she just shoots her, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. You had the little droid even fought in the beginning and everything. And that was a cool little trick he pulled to get their attention, just pulling the cords on the ship, and they're like, "Oh, he messed it up even further." And Ahsoka's like, "He wouldn't," and they went out there weapons hot. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of cool little detail through this.
They really did a good job paying homage to Rebels, Sabine from Rebels, with how she used her Mandalorian tools in lieu of having the Force regularly available. That was pretty slick. I like that. And Shin-Hati was just expecting a Force blow. Yeah. I mean, it was played off so damn well. My brain at the first split of seconds, oh my God, she just used the Force. Wait a minute. No, she didn't. All right. They did that very well. Kind of leave you guessing a little bit for a second there.
Probably the biggest.
Go ahead, Chris is muted.
Sorry, I think that's going to be one of Sabine's bigger plot points. Is maybe just like, I mean, she's the first character where she has use of the Force, and like basically she probably shouldn't use it. It should probably be like her extra thing, So that was a big deal to me where she switched and became a Mandalorian. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't even have a Din Djarin. She should just been the Mandalorian from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like that's like I hope they move. They're not going to, because she's teamed up with Ahsoka, but I always wanted them to move away from her Force connection and then just go the full Mandalorian storyline. So I was happy to see that. Not so happy to see her sort of be a traitor. I'm not sure that the Rebel Sabine would have done that, but then again, she didn't have a family member like Ezra, so.
Now, before we dive into like more detailed, nuanced stuff, what was everyone's takeaway with Baylan? Because I got to tell you, that's what put me over. Like the episode, I'm like, yo, this is going well. This is going really well. But then when Baylan finally got some real screen time and got to dialogue, and we got to see like his actual dueling style, and I'm like, dude, this is just sad that we won't get more of him beyond this season. But this was just amazing.
Yeah, I think Ray Stevenson plays Baylan as good as any Star Wars villain I've seen in a long time.
What's special about him to you guys? Because to me, he's pretty
Me personally, I think it's his delivery of lines, his facial expressions, his body mannerisms, and his characteristics in the lightsaber form and style that he's using. He really, very few actors out there can say, "Hey, deliver this like this, the lightsaber style," and make it seem like your lightsaber is as heavy as a Scottish broadsword. And he did it, and this is like the standout moment from Ahsoka. Is Ray Stevens is going to be the standout moment / actor from this series, and it's heartbreaking that he can't be around. And I guess there's already a few people online talking about who could be a body double, and then them pull the de-aging or the, what do they call that, this deep fake stuff, and get somebody to play Ray Stevenson in season 2 as an homage to finish the character development or the end story. If we don't get an end story, for me, it's his line delivery. It's how his mannerisms on camera.
He looks broken and determined.
Mm-hmm.
He looks defeated. He looks mentally defeated, yet not even. It's just his stature. He looks like a statue from Scottish Ireland, 1800s, carrying a sword and wielding it around. He looks menacing and like unbeatable.
Yeah, for day and night comparison, like when Kylo Ren was introduced, like I remember seeing him in the trailers before episode 7. I'm like, who is this? And then when he gets on screen, nothing about him was believably intimidating ever through any of it. Like I never
he was just a whiner.
He's just a whiner, and like physically, the way he acted, the way he moved. Stevenson's got that, he's got that Sith swagger. Like there's a swagger to being a Sith. Look at Count Dooku and look at Vader and the way Vader carried himself. He carries himself menacingly. And when you actually see him in action, you like the way he wasn't even looking at Ahsoka when he was talking to her. She's over here and he's just talking out into the ether. It's just the little details. I don't know. It just hit it. Felt like a bad guy.
That's why sort of like, to me, I mean, I've not seen it. I've not felt any of this with him so much, and that's because he is just like, to me, another Dooku, another Darth Vader, and then they already dropped it too early in the plot. I've just watched enough Star Wars. They already dropped it too early in the plot that he doesn't want to kill Ahsoka necessarily. He goes, it's unfortunate she's the last one or something like that. So that there's going to be I know, or at least it looks to me like there's going to be some kind of another like retribution sort of storyline with him. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Me and my brother were talking about that lightsaber battle, but we were mostly talking about like Ahsoka. It's like, you need to make that adjustment to live action because, in Star Wars, she's like flipping around and jumping off walls and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And this one, she's like barely can do a pirouette,
Yeah. She's a little bit older too. That somehow some people have been explaining it off, but I'm with you a bit on that.
But that's a story. But that's just animation to you can only do so much.
And I've admittedly since last Sunday I've almost finished season 1 of Rebels. I haven't seen Ahsoka show up yet. I haven't seen how they present her in that. I've seen how they did her in like Clone Wars and stuff. I've seen how they did her in Mandalorian. But in terms of watching her with Baylan, like you could see a clear difference in their speed and their styles and everything. And that was another thing that got me, like just watching how he was moving so much less than her, but getting the upper hand on everything.
So much more
That's a Dooku thing. That's a Dooku thing to me because he would
it's also like not like even out of context. It's a great choreography thing. Like we haven't seen great choreography lightsaber battles since the prequel. Like the sequels were all a bust. My wife goes, yeah. And the sequels were all a bust. There's there's high hopes for Obi-Wan, and that was even kind of not really there. Watching the Sabine fight in episode 1, I'm like that didn't look good. I mean, it was fine, but this was a proper lightsaber battle. I'm like, this was dope for me.
It could have even been better yet. There's a lot of people on social media talking about how this still doesn't hold a candle to the episode 1, 2, and 3.
The lightsaber duel style.
Who's the guy that coordinated a lot of the mall stuff? There's a specific guy that's not an actor. He did a lot of the coordination for the mall stuff. And that was one of the guys that they were talking about. They wish he would have played a role in the show in Ahsoka, and he would have elevated that lightsaber battle even higher to the next level. And I'm trying
I
to
thought
remember
Ray
his name.
Park, who played Darth Maul, is actually like he's actually a choreographer. He was
but there was a guy that was hired that helped out Ray and helped out a lot of those scenes, a lot of that battles that made him so much better that a lot of people talked about.
Oh, I don't know, but the prequels will never be topped. All you can do is get to that level. That's pretty much all you can really do. They like bringing the whole animation thing. They brought that level of lightsaber duels to real life.
And I also think that they're probably setting up for, episode 8, whatever. I'm assuming I would expect to have the most fantastic lightsaber battle of any of the episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm with Chris, though. Like, seriously, I think Ray Stevenson is a better casting than Rosario as Ahsoka. Like, I like Rosario as Ahsoka, but I'm with everybody else. She's very stiff.
Yeah, her dialogue is very flat sometimes.
I get that she is much older now than she was in Clone Wars and Rebels. I mean, she's late 30s, early 40s in this, but come on, bust out the wires and let's see a force leap in some of these episodes. Like, that's not that hard to figure out. Or is Rosario just worth that much more that they can't even put him in that much of harm's way to do the wire leaps? And who remembers the wire leaps from like the Matrix and all the cool fluid movements that they did in the Matrix? Like, this should have been a no-brainer, easy thing for them to figure out, to hook up Rosario to really elevate Ahsoka, and that's kind of lacking.
I don't even need them to. I mean, the wire leap shouldn't be too hard, to be honest. But I don't even need that. Like, you could just do like the practical effects where she's landing, like like classic TV when they couldn't handle so many special effects.
Yeah.
So just anything more than what she did, and I guess maybe that's why like you guys and other people enjoy. I forget his name now, but enjoy his style of fighting because it fits for a live action, since he can't be flipping off walls like animated Yoda and stuff, But yeah, I'm spoiled with all the Clone Wars lightsaber battles. To me, those are my top 5 lightsaber battles ever are probably all animated. So, number 1 probably being Darth Maul versus the Emperor. If you remember that one where the Emperor decides that he needs to shut down Darth Maul. Yeah. So,
So, Chris, about your post you put up this week. I don't have it up handy, but you said you put up a screenshot of the text, and you said like as someone who. So what is it?
I answered Durs's something Durs posted, and then I go, well, that's more or less what I think, so I'll just make it my own post, and then I talk about it.
Yeah, along the lines of like you said that you were somebody who was primed to be the primary audience for this show, basically. Like, you were set and ready to love this show, yet you find yourself struggling with it because of how big of a Rebels fan you are. Is that correct along the lines of what
No, maybe not how big of a Rebels fan I am. I'm definitely not in the boat of this is my character, even though I notice the stiff Ahsoka and stuff, but okay. I mean, I read a lot of I'm like someone that comes from the expanded universe, essentially, and there's very few of us. Like, I didn't grow up with Star Wars. The prequels came out. They were okay. You know what I mean? The Clone Wars film was sort of silly, right? But then as I started, read a couple novels, started watching Clone Wars, especially Clone Wars is really where it came in. That's how I became a Star Wars. Like, Ahsoka is Star Wars to me. And I'm definitely not coming from the point where it's not my Ahsoka kind of idea. For me, I'm already so built into the story. Like, I just want to know what happened to Ezra. I want to know what happens to Thrawn, that the show can be sort of bland to me and still like it. And that's exactly where I am. The show is very bland to me, but I still like it. Like, they've already just built up all this equity and enjoyment for me over the years. And I spent a lot of time, sort of don't want to talk, since you're almost done. I know it's all spoilers, but since you're almost done with season 1, I sort of want to talk about season 1. And
you can talk about spoil. You can talk about it on here. I've watched clips from Rebels all through it and everything. I know who lives and dies. I'm just going through experiencing it.
Yeah. So I didn't even have to really, but we had like the 6-month break or whatever it was, or the year break between seasons, waiting for it. I've known Ezra Bridger and Thrawn have gone to this other galaxy for a few years now, right? And I'm waiting to see what they're going to do. They put out a crappy novel, and I don't even think that's in canon anymore. A lot of things that Filoni has done has sort of negated that novel. So, you know, they just already built this equity. I already love it. So there's nothing that's going to make me not love it. But I do, like, in all these years all these months when Ahsoka was coming up, and I was like I was the guy going, you got to watch Clone Wars, you got to watch Rebels. Those are the best, you know? And then I hear people that don't like it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe you had to live in the moment. So far with Ahsoka, this is not something, you know, to get people to love the character Ahsoka. This show is not the thing I would have them start with. And there's just too much to me. There's a lot of filler. And then even my wife's same as me, as far as like loving Star Wars through Ahsoka, through Clone Wars and the Rebels crew, you know, and the whole time, you know, we were like, sometimes it could just be easy. When it's cool that she was in episode 3, when she gets on the ship, that's a cool scene. Oh, and in fact, that doesn't happen that much. You know, I often see characters out in space in Star Wars for whatever reason. And, you know, it was just like, you know, they could have shot at the ship and she could have just done some force move or something. You know what I mean? They just shot at her. When the droid, the bad droid, sees where the ship is, okay, it's one thing that they go in the trees and they can't find them, whatever, right? You know, normally you can walk up to a planet and you can sense a force user, but that, you know, that's always iffy. But when the droid sees them, why are they like sending a couple people out? Like, why aren't they just bombing them then? Why aren't they just landing a bunch of planes and stuff? You know, and so there's things like that, you know, that normally me and my wife don't worry about those things, but they just seem very exposed here, you know, mixed with the Ahsoka stuff. And then just a few scenes that just don't matter. Like the beginning of season 3 where they're practicing. Like, I get that they need to train, but that was like a 6-minute scene. You know, we were like, what's going on here? You know, so I guess at the end of the day, it's impossible for me not to like it. But what I can see now is it definitely doesn't give the excitement or like the feeling I've got over the last 5-10 years of going, oh, you guys got to watch Clone Wars, or you guys got to watch Rebels, you know. And so definitely, and maybe it'll end, you know, because I remember Rebels season 1 was, I thought it, you know, I loved it, but I thought it was only okay. That just got better and better. You know, maybe it'll end cooler. Maybe the movie will be awesome. Who knows, you know, but I do feel a little mid. And even with this Sith character that you guys like, I don't like, I like the actor, but you know, I
think that's one of the draws to it is he's not a Sith. Like he's a torn character. You're muted, Andy, but he's a torn character kind of, you know what I mean?
Wasn't he like wiped away this past episode?
No, we're talking about Ray Stevenson.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, they're in between. They're not even really full Sith. I mean, that's why you still see the Padawan master type architecture there, and the Padawan braid and whatnot. You still see remnants of a Jedi Order, a Jedi culture. So they're still like, even originally, I was kind of thinking, well, is the orange because they weren't strong enough to fully bleed their lightsabers to turn red, or is there's only 2 Sith? You know, we still haven't had that answer yet of where the orange lightsaber comes from. So. Back to your original question.
They're not fully Sith either, you know, but I mean, we've already had the sister. I thought that's what that character was, by the way, that they cut and turned to dust. I forget his name too. But you know, we've already had the first brother, second brother, I forget what they're called. Like they've already figured out a way, you know, to put Sith in there that aren't Sith. You know, that in Rebels and stuff. So it's similar. And that's what I thought that character was that Sabine killed, or who killed it?
Ahsoka cut him open.
Oh, Ahsoka cut him open.
Yeah, Marok or
Merrick
who,
or something.
Who saw that coming? Who saw that kind of playing out? That was one of the, I think, top 5 or 6 theories, but it was definitely near the low end. People weren't really. Everybody was like, "We don't want that to happen. That's going to be boring."
And well, we said that last week. I said, "Watch what's going to happen. It's going to end up being a complete nobody that was just inserted there for the sake of having someone to kill," and it happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Is that something that we've seen in other stuff, like in Rebels? I know, like they get deep into like what is it, like the son and the sister, the son and the daughter, which is like these massive like individual entities for the dark side and the light side and stuff. Is this something we've seen already in Rebels or something, or anywhere else in the later Clone Wars season where you can just like take the smoke monster from Lost and give it a lightsaber?
Yeah, not the smoke monster, but that spinning lightsaber thing. That's how some of them fly and stuff. Which is why I forget what they call that little group of people. I forget. They're like called like the 4th sister, 5th sister, 3rd brother. I forget what they call them.
But they're not Inquisitors. These are just those are the Inquisitors, because I've seen them in like the opening scene of Rebels. You see the dude.
Yeah. So that's the
Obi-Wan.
one Inquisitor. That's like the third brother or something like that.
Okay.
There were like about 8 of them. The comics actually developed them pretty cool in certain
and
areas.
We saw a good handful of them in the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, they were in the Obi-Wan. It's just the way to have a Sith character and it not be Sith. Sort of gets around the rule of 2 kind of thing. But yeah,
they're hunting down the Jedi's post Order 66 for Darth Vader, from what I understand. I'm like about I think I'm on episode 10 of Rebels out of 15 in the first season, which ain't bad.
Rebels is, I mean, I can't agree with Chris on the Clone Wars season 1 and season 2. I struggled through those dramatically.
They're hard rewatches.
I can see where Chris appreciates them, but I was like, I am like a more toned down version of him and his wife, whereas Sarah, my wife, helped me discover Ahsoka through that. And it took me all those years of Clone Wars to kind of ramp up and get really excited, and then to sit and wait. And I'm really interested in hearing, kind of as we dig deeper into this, about the thoughts and theories that you guys may have about Ahsoka having already died in the past, and the daughter sacrificing herself or giving a part of herself to Ahsoka to bring her back to life, and what that potentially had implications that has with the world between worlds. And I hear some people even asking, is Ahsoka now a god?
You're talking about her? You're talking about that episode of Clone Wars where they go to see the daughter and
Yep, and then the
that was
owl.
So good. I was like, man, George Lucas allowed this. This is awesome.
So give some context to what happened and what you're talking about here for people that aren't that balls deep in it.
I wouldn't have brought it up because I haven't watched that episode in 7 years. So Andy, you get to.
That's kind of like, did she die or did she? What happened here? Is she actually, like, you can't use the term human being, but is she mortal? Is she immortal? How does that play a role? So then you kind of dig back into that episode a bit where the daughter sacrificed herself and part of herself to Ahsoka to bring her back to life. Now, does this make her simply immortal? Or that's why I want to hear a little bit more from you guys, if not, or some other people in the chat, because how do you just have that performance, that stiff performance for Ahsoka, and then does that lead into Ahsoka the White? Have we gone? Is this our opening volley of leading away from Ahsoka the Gray to Ahsoka the White, which Filoni has talked a lot about, the comparisons with Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, or is that just us being trolled? I wonder. Chris is smiling. You don't?
No, I don't. I never go do the theories. I turn off theories.
I need to follow suit with you then and turn those off, because I like spider webbing out into those things. And
here's what happens: either you find the better thing to happen and it doesn't, or you just spoil yourself.
Here you go. Why do y'all think she was able to just dial into the world between worlds? Like, how does one get there? How did she end up there?
Someone pulls you in. You'll see that. You'll see that soon too in Rebels. So what it looked like to me at the end with the world between worlds is that Anakin, in some displaced time period, just pulled her in through one of those mirrors, because you can't just die and go there. Or maybe you do. Maybe this is where all those dead Force ghosts sit, is the world between worlds. So.
Well, I saw the little video with Filoni even talking about and explaining the world between worlds, how like it's unique to everyone. Like, she sees Anakin, but that's not Anakin. That's just her perception of what happens in there. Like, if somebody else is in there, they're going to see something different, kind of thing.
I don't know, because I mean, I know we do all spoilers here, but this is actually a really crappy spoiler. And maybe you know this already, Mark, but we were left. Ahsoka's really a side character in Rebels, right? We were left at the end of season 2 with her facing off against Darth Vader, and didn't. Yeah,
when Ezra goes through the world between worlds and gets her out of there,
pulls her out. Yeah, so that was not. To me, that's closer to some kind of fake Ahsoka than not fake Ahsoka, but immortal Ahsoka than what happened with the sisters, right? But obviously that family is going to work into here. So I don't know. I mean, she was real. He pulled her out, then they had to get out because the Emperor or Palpatine was going to kill them. They're all, they ran and I can't remember exactly what happened. I think they jumped through a portal and they're back in their normal time, so, but that was the real Ahsoka. Without that, that it has to be real people there is what I'm saying, at least to some extent, because Ahsoka is real and so was Ezra when that world between worlds first showed it to each other.
Do you guys think that was a Force ghost of Anakin then?
I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That is a Force ghost. He's in the world between world. He pulled her in, right? Since the Force ghost was Anakin, the last time we saw an Anakin Force ghost was at the end of episode 6.
Whenever
right?
we see a Force ghost, is that Force ghost that we're seeing from the mind of that person viewing it? So it's because I'm getting at, why didn't he have both of his hands? Why did he have his black gloved mechanically replaced hand? If he was a Force ghost, why wouldn't he have both of his hands? That's I'm kind of struggling with that a little bit. Is that something they dropped the ball on and forgot about, or is this just what Ahsoka perceives as the Anakin that she remembers?
I think that she died. She's in the world between worlds where Anakin is now going to send. He has such balance in the Force. He's going to have the ability to send her back.
He's going to finally get to do what sent him to the dark side to begin with. Raise someone from the dead.
Yeah.
He simply wanted the power to save Padme, to keep her from dying. And I think he's going to have found that and bestow it to Ahsoka.
So it's essentially, do you think he's not a Force ghost, and this is him stepping into the world between worlds to save her, and then he steps back out?
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot that has to be fleshed out there, but that was the first thing I thought when I saw Anakin was he's going to save her. He's going to tell her her training is complete. She is a Jedi, and because he was the one who brought balance, he's going to be able to send her back.
Someone could have pulled that Anakin out though from Episode 2 or from the Clone Wars era. He also could have been pulled in the way she was pulled in by Ezra.
Good point.
Which would make it have. It probably is Force ghost stuff because we're going to go to the daughter and the father and all that stuff. So it probably will go out that way, but at the same time, if I didn't notice his hand or anything, but if he's that version of Anakin, he could have been pulled in, right? So who knows?
Yeah, I didn't notice the hand either. I had a hard time. Like I was like, what? Like I was befuddled.
Well, when they inserted him into went back into the director's cuts and inserted him as a Force ghost at the end of the other movies, he had both of his hands. It was pretty clear. He had both of his hands. So that was kind of one of the things when I went back and look, I'm like, he's not.
I don't think they changed his body though. Didn't they just change his face? Because if you go back and look, he's thick like old buddy from the original cut. Like
he's got the scar. He's got the scar over his eye.
Like I think the body was the same as the original body, is what I'm saying. I think they just put Hayden Christensen's face on that body. I don't know if they redid the whole thing.
It was not a great execution of said CGI effects, in my opinion.
What are y'all's thoughts on the sister made her successful jump? They got the engines, which, by the way, the design inside that Halo thing was great when they're firing it up and you see like the light tubes lighting up and stuff. I'm like, this looks like Metropolis, like from the 1930s. But it was awesome when she hit the hyperdrive, and what's her name? Hera? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hera's there with her crew with that one X-Wing guy who's in like all the shows. He's like the Agent Coulson for the Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
He's there rocking with her. And they shoot the Hyperloop straight at him, hyperspeed, and you get to see everything in the hyperspace wake, and the way like the ships are getting tossed around and everything. But they're gone. Like the only way to get to that other galaxy that we know of as of now, at least in the context of this show, the live action stuff that I'm aware of, is gone. So where does that leave?
The whales. They can go with the whales.
That's what I was thinking. So we're going to ride whaleback?
I don't know how they're going to do it because, by the end of Rebels, they are very well developed, by the way, his like special force power. Ezra Bridger can sort of commune with animals. And so
he's like Aquaman.
I was led to believe that.
They're going to say they're going to pull a full Aquaman in space.
He's Aquaman in space.
Basically Aquaman in space, but they got to find someone else to do it. It'd be cool if it ended up being Grogu. But, if he just walked down and goes, oh, this guy's the key. And then that's why Grogu's not around. It's like,
we've already seen him. We see him like floating animals from time to time. So,
yeah, he's around him, but he's, the whales are the other way to get there. And it felt like only Ezra could do that.
So right now we kind of it feels pretty hopeless. Like right now, like for the characters that it's been focusing on, who do y'all think that is they're going to have to necessarily bring in next? Because the next episode they're doing like they're showing in like 10 theaters across the country, a whole really? 10.
Yep.
Yeah. Episode 5 will have a theatrical release in very select theaters because something's happening with it.
Thrawn will be in it.
Like 10 major
That's what I think. I think it's going to be the introduction of Thrawn. I think is what's going to happen. Yeah.
Also, Ahsoka's in the world between worlds. I mean, presumably she could just go to that galaxy from there.
And that's one thing that I like, because I'd never heard tell of the world between worlds until this, or dove into any of that. And for me, just like as a layman watching it, pretty much when she grabbed the sphere and it burned her hand, I'm like, okay, we're going Indiana Jones with this. The map's on her hand. And then she ends up in the world between worlds, and you see all these pathways and these star charts. I'm like, yo, like, there you go. Grab a whale and go. Grab a whale and go. Like, I feel like it's all there now.
Yeah, I mean, those are the ways that'll happen. It'd have to be pretty clever for them to think of a different way. But the whales go there all the time, or at least Ezra could get them. The space dolphins, space orcas.
That's some Lobo stuff right there.
Yeah, they're from Star Trek 6. That's how we're going to do the Star Trek Star Wars crossover.
It brought Spock back, so
yeah.
Those were whales too in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember.
Those are actual whales.
Actual
whales. Yeah. That's how we
in
get
space.
In space. Over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! So they're borrowing a lot from Star Trek with the space whales, the Red Forest. We got the Stargate up there.
Stargate's there, yeah. It's like, well, we got to keep expanding, and a lot of ideas already happened, so we're just going to copy them.
Yeah, as long as you do it well. What do y'all think they're going to do with Thrawn? Because I'm starting to get this feeling that with Balin, with Ren, with that witch lady that I can't ever remember her name, like Morgan.
Lady Morgan.
Yeah. So with all these characters, and knowing that there's a finale movie, like Thrawn clearly isn't going to be any kind of resolution in this. Like, I think I wasn't even assuming we were going to get him in the next episode. I thought that they were probably going to save him for the end, but I guess like we've seen him in the trailer on the bridge of the Stargate. So I guess I can probably expect that the next episode. How far are they going to take that character in the show?
Probably going to do like an Empire Strikes Back sort of ending with the show, I'd imagine, because now we're going to get Thrawn. So you're going to have a 3-episode arc where they need to stop him from coming back to the galaxy, and then they're going to lose, and then there's going to be a movie.
Years from now, by the time everything gets done.
Yeah, years from now. What I think is interesting, though, is that they've already done 3. I think they might start writing novels out of the canon, which is unfortunate. But they had already done 3 big novels, aftermath novels, about the time between Return of the Jedi, and I only finished the first one, but the time between Return of the Jedi and the sequels. You think they would have mentioned Thrawn somewhere in there, because obviously he's going to have a big effect on the post Return of the Jedi world. So I got a question, maybe for Andy, maybe for anyone else in there. But do you guys think that the show and the movie, that he's going to give an ending to Ahsoka? Because that's what you made me start thinking when you were talking about Ahsoka the White, and when we started going into the Force stuff. Is he going to lay her down?
I don't know.
She's going to be elevated to some extent in some fashion.
That's the $1 million question right there, because you now have Rosario Dawson, who looks, a lot of people I'm in agreement with, is she looks the part. Really, now getting her to act the part. This is just the first volley. They went through all of that work. They're only going to do one show with a couple of seasons and 1 or 2 movies. That just does not seem like the Lucasfilm / Star Wars enterprise that I know to bleed everything thoroughly out. I don't know that they'll ever give her. I think Filoni will give her a true ending in an animated series somewhere where he has more control down the line. That's at least if my heart of hearts, when I think about Filoni and think about what he's done and how he's done things, he'll give Ahsoka the ending he wants to give her when he has more control or the ability to do it in the fashion or way that he thinks would be respectful for Ahsoka and the fandom. And I don't think that's going to be in a movie or a TV show. At least my heart hopes it's not going to be. But yeah, I don't know.
I honestly don't have a clue. I'd imagine it's based on viewership. Seeing what Disney does with Kathleen Kennedy. If something pops, they'll bleed it dry.
You think he has it in his head already?
Filoni definitely does, because I can remember years ago I was waiting. Rebels ended. I was like, okay, what now, bro? And he would be like, in interviews, he'd be like, that we have to be patient, that Ahsoka's story will be told and stuff like that. So who knows? You're right about bleeding the stuff dry and whatnot, but you've had a lot of Ahsoka, and you can end Ahsoka's story just so it doesn't mix into what happens 30 years and stuff ago. But you have significant story to tell of Ahsoka during the original trilogy, and they might be side quests. You might be doing other stuff, but you have we don't know what she did actually, because like I said, the novel really only covered the beginning of the New Hope era. And then a lot of that is just, I don't think people even think of it as canon anymore. So
isn't she dead in the expanded universe stuff? Didn't they get to her death? Someone mentioned to me Friday morning that she was dead, and
she got pulled out. She got this is the point. This is the timeline we know, and I think somewhere in my head I got something mixed up, and the Ahsoka show fixed that. This is a timeline that we know in our head. She's there at the end of Rebels, right? And then we don't see her again. If you don't count the book, then we really don't see her again until the scene until Ahsoka starts. That's 5 years later. 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Didn't Mandalorian come before all this though?
It's all more or less in the same timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years roughly after. Mandalorian did come slightly before, because we saw Ahsoka capture Lady Morgan.
Daddy.
Whatever her name is.
Daddy.
Did you watch Ahsoka? Did you like the first Ahsoka?
Uh-huh.
He only watched the first episode.
Yeah. You show him episode 4.
I want to tell you something. Do you remember that trick that you were doing? That trick?
No.
Oh, that trick. Okay.
The trick.
No.
What trick was that?
Yeah.
Pull my finger? Bro. Pull my finger?
Yeah. The story will be told. That'd be some of the most gut-wrenchingly sad, heartbreaking series. Well, they could tell Ahsoka's story and she can live on outside of anything else. She could just walk off into the sunset like the old Westerns. I mean,
she literally did that in Clone Wars when we weren't sure if we were going to see her again, and Clone Wars ended. She rolled off, and then there was a whole nother season that really didn't involve her.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
So to switch it up, do we have any information at all at this point about what that other galaxy is? Are there any theories on that, or any kind of information from expanded lore that kind of touch on where Thrawn and Ezra could actually be? And are they there against their will?
Oh, you ask the question when the man that has the knowledge to answer that question just steps out, because Chris is more deeper into the books and the non-canon versus canon stuff than I am. But yeah, there is a race of aliens from that galaxy, if I remember correctly, and I could be remembering this completely wrong, that were attempting to take over the galaxy that we know in Star Wars. Long time ago. It's somewhere between, I think it's even before the High Republic era. And somebody will chime in and let us know. Somebody will remember. But yeah, it's the Star Wars universe has been to this galaxy before to a degree. Think space whales, think the structures and the magic, the Night Sisters magic that they're adding and sprinkling in here and there. They've added enough stuff in there for us to kind of piecemeal together that moving between galaxies is something that was done with ease in the past. And it's a long lost, forgotten magic or long lost, forgotten
civilization vibes are definitely hinted at in this. So I'll re-ask it here to Chaos. In the expanded lore stuff, to your knowledge, do we have any information about this other galaxy where Thrawn is? And is he there on his own free will? Like,
what do you mean on his own free will? I mean, Ahsoka saved, or I mean, Ezra Bridger saved everyone by taking him with him to this galaxy with those whales or whatever. So he's not there on his own free will. He comes from another galaxy, actually, or maybe someone in the chat can clear this up. But there's a Thrawn book series where a lot of this ascendant tech comes from, and that's what's connected to this dark droids thing that's happening in the comics right now. But yeah, he's from another galaxy. I don't think he's in his. And if it's not another galaxy, it's some like adjacent area next to the galaxy or something like that, which would be a galaxy actually. But yeah, it's not unheard of, this other galaxy stuff in the expanded universe, especially with like the world between worlds and stuff. I know that just before Disney bought and this is something that would be better for like if Aggressively Relaxing was on here. I know just before Disney bought the Star Wars IP, the expanded universe was sort of in trouble. It's like, we've already told all these stories. We told all the X-Wing stories, just 30 years of stories. And so they actually had a big series where aliens from another galaxy come into the Star Wars universe, happening way after, in that 30-year period after Return of the Jedi. So it's not unheard of. But as far as do we know anything about the galaxy they went to? Not that I know. I've never read that in any other expanded universe.
Yeah, you're talking about the Yuuzhan Vong, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I don't know anything about that. So you're the one that knows. I should ask you.
Yeah, and in that series, Chewbacca is killed. There's a whole bunch of things. Exactly. So there's lots of different things then.
So is that what I'm thinking of about the alien race that wanted to take everything over and was out fighting? Am I crisscrossing the wrong things?
You might be crisscrossing the two canons.
Oh, that's probably what I'm doing then.
The Yuuzhan, and he seems to know more about it than me. But I just read about it. I try to stay away from the books because if I'm going to read books, I should. Yeah,
this says Thrawn hailed from Rentor in the unknown regions.
In the unknown regions, yeah. So he's Chiss. So it's like deeper than the outer rim, deeper than the I forget what they call the spot, deeper than wild space. And he's Chiss and from those regions, and those books are great, by the way. So I still need to finish the third one. After saying I didn't read the books, I did read the Thrawn books. I've read a handful of them. So.
Yeah, all those books were part of it was a whole series that was called the New Jedi Order, which was really done really well.
But you're talking about the original Thrawn books in the old canon.
The original, that's the old canon because those were the original expanded universe books.
Yeah,
those 3 Heir to the Empire.
Those are the classics. Those are like in the group of books that everyone would tell you to read. There's the new Thrawn trilogy also written by Timothy Zahn, yeah, which is about a little bit different, right, and brings in ascendant technology and stuff like that.
Okay.
And this is the Great Hyperspace War.
This is where I need to sit down and finally buckle down and work on putting a list together of all of the books that I need to read, because just reading the comic books and just watching Clone Wars and Rebels doesn't help straighten things out for you. I mean, it just makes
now you're telling me there's no hope?
Oh, there's always hope.
There's always hope.
If you want to, I mean, this is probably a little bit exaggerated, but Star Wars, we mentioned this last week, I think. If you want to understand what's the current canon, Star Wars Explained every May 4th does an updated version of what is currently canon and goes from the very beginning of time to whatever, including comics and books and everything. He brings it all in and does all that stuff.
I listen to them every day. I listen to them every day to and from work. But the thing is unless you've been listening to them for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years, as long as their channel's been around, it's hard to get spun up and caught up on things that you don't know exist, like some of the books, because you're listening to what's topical for them and topical for Star Wars fandom in the moment, which is still great content, though.
Yep. But yeah, every May 4th, I go and I rewatch it and see what he's added and everything. So,
how long has that channel been around? Like, how many of those May 4th videos have they done?
They have like 1 million or almost at 1 million followers, and I think they've been around for about 10 years.
Oh,
yeah.
There's so many rabbit holes, and I thought, like, I'm like, okay, I'm about to go above and beyond. I'm going to watch Rebels. Lost Cause. So, did any of y'all like take any weight to them actually using the phrase "heir to the Empire" in this episode?
Which is like, I think it's an Easter egg for the fans. Yeah.
So how fun do you think? Like, I haven't read Heir to the Empire. I don't know. Like, is Ahsoka even in that book? She's not, right?
No. Ahsoka. The only thing Ahsoka was the Clone Wars movie, and then shortly after that, Disney bought them, and then it stayed canon. Yeah, I think what is interesting though is that, and I haven't read Heir to the Empire either. I've read the new Thrawn books. But I think what is interesting is that when they introduced Thrawn in Rebels, it was like, oh, that's weird. They're like taken from the old one, because Thrawn was never pre A New Hope. He was never in that Rogue One era. You know what I mean? It was all the new bad guy after Vader, essentially. And so I remember people, it was just that it was so good that people were okay with it at the end of the day, like moving Thrawn in front of New Hope. But what you're getting, though, what we're ending up getting, because of the way Rebels ended, and then the Skywalker saga happens, you're ending up getting the new canon version of Heir to the Empire, because it's going to happen after, in this era of the Empire falling apart.
Saying this is what I kind of took from it when they did that name drop for that book. I'm like, that's clearly what they're going to name the finale movie, is Heir to the Empire.
That makes sense.
And here's another one.
Yeah. Where
Hopefully.
this is like, we're halfway through the season, and where's my Zeb?
Where's everyone else? I mean, I guess like Ezra's AWOL. Kanan is dead. Sabine and Hera are there. So Zeb, is he the only missing one? Because I don't know who might get added to the team along the way, but
yeah, Zeb's the only missing one. He's not unaccounted for, because he had to cameo in that in Andor.
Yeah, lots of speculation on why he hasn't shown up yet. Everything from how much it costs to do that to where he could be, and it's like just get him in there. That's part of the Ghost crew. You want everybody to start shouting and cheering. Get the whole Ghost crew back together. That's around and make that happen.
Probably get it in the movie. You'll probably get it in the movie budget.
Yeah.
I didn't finish Andor, and I just looked up this cameo. He looks really good in it.
I'm telling you guys, severely missed opportunity though to jam him into an X-wing with his knees up at his chin and his arms wrapped around on the controls. That would have been absolutely epic to stuff him into an X-wing for a split second or two just for a response. That would have been great. Oh, Hondo. Oh,
where is Hondo? He should be old. It'd be great. I keep thinking it's whenever they show that race of people, I just keep hoping it is Hondo.
Adventures Joe's not a Star Wars Explained fan.
Oh, really? That's interesting. I mean, yeah, they started in 2014. It was like almost 800,000 subscribers, and they were suggested to me a few years ago to help broaden my understanding of Star Wars and learn about the stuff that you can only take in so much every day and every week.
Yeah.
The books and novels. Hondo was one of the best. Yeah.
He's funny. I mean, he became a little towards the end. He became a little bit more of the Quark, the Ferengi sort of comedy guy in the show.
That's I gotta remember that. That's pretty good.
It was like they tried to make him serious and menacing. It was like, nah, it doesn't work. He's just funny.
Doesn't play off. He's always that guy that comes off serious and menacing, and then he'll split like 3 seconds later. I almost had you. Yeah.
I haven't seen E.T. make but the one appearance with the vote of no contest in episode 1.
Oh boy,
had E.T. made there.
So we got a runtime of almost 52 minutes, I think. theatrical release.
I checked. It's not on any screens near me. I don't know where it's playing, and I didn't even realize it was
Chicago,
limited to
New York.
It's playing in Orlando. It's playing at Disney Springs.
Oh yeah, probably L.A., probably Chicago, probably New York.
Yep. It's playing at AMC theaters, especially the ones that are part of it'll play in downtown Disney, with the AMC theaters there. It's playing at Disney Springs, the AMC theaters there.
Are you going to see it on the big screen? As somebody who's actually on the panel, I think you're the only one with it in reach.
I might. I haven't decided yet.
Oh, where's a list of places playing? Because I would go.
I think it'd be cool. I'd check my local theaters because I'm like, hey, if it's playing at a decent time, I guess it wouldn't play till 9. I guess.
Well, yeah, if they wanted to keep everybody,
there we go,
doing the same thing, they probably would.
That'd be funny if they aired it at 7. Just gave them like a 2-hour head start. Just people bombard with spoilers. They must have high hopes for this, other than just Thrawn walking on the screen. You know what I mean? There's got to be something to it. Of course, I'm expecting to see a lot more Anakin. I don't know how long she's going to be in the world between worlds. If that's just going to be a flash in the pan, or
do we get some training flashbacks between him and Ahsoka?
Because I mean, you got to come out of there with her. That would be great. I'd be happy.
You got to think about this from Filoni. He's presenting this to 60% of his audience, probably maybe even closer to 70% of his audience for this show they don't have the history of the relationship with Ahsoka that anybody does that watch Clone Wars or Rebels. So you got to think he's probably going to drop in some training lookbacks or some training. He's got to build that relationship between Ahsoka and Anakin for the people that don't know them yet, is what I'm trying to get at. To some degree, he's got to somehow.
So it's just to be 30 minutes of them talking about their feelings in the theater. It's going to be like Eat, Pray, Love, or those kind of. But theatrical release, they're just going to sit on a couple camping chairs and just really hash stuff out, and make sure that they understand where each one was coming from. He's like, but I love Padme. I didn't even know Padme. They're just going to be doing that.
Yeah, you know what? If he says, I hate sand, I'm walking out.
Dude, I would love that.
Like, good point everywhere. Good point from Rob too. They don't know or understand the world between worlds yet too.
Yeah, they've only spent very little time there. I mean, Anakin might. Who knows how long he's been there?
People are just going WTF. Yeah.
I don't know. This series is really emotional in this household for people watching that don't know. My wife cosplays as Ahsoka, is a massive Ahsoka fan, and has been since day one. She's the one trying to push me more into the books, and she's the one I always look to for a lot of this. So there were definitely she liked the novel. Yeah, she's actually got a signed copy signed by Ashley Eckstein, and who's the author again? She got signed. Yeah, she got it signed by the author and Ashley Eckstein. She has that, and so far, she's been liking the show. She's the person I turn to. Like, is this living up to your hopes and dreams? And she's in agreement with Rosario being a little bit stiff, but she was nothing but tears last Tuesday.
You brought that up on the first night here after we watched episodes 1 and 2 about like the dialogue pacing, not the show's overall pacing, but the exchange is honestly terrible. Like, if someone says something, then you can count to 3 before the other person responds, and you can count to 3 before the other, and they're all kind of, it's really flat. I just started noticing it a lot more since we talked about it after that first week,
And there's a lot of the camera on the character being like, here's one of your favorite Rebels characters in live action. Let's just hold the camera on Hera. Hold it on Hera. There we go. Oh, there's her lines. And then you won't see her. You see her in the next episode. Will be like, let's do the same thing, So a little bit of that.
I chalk it up to kind of paying homage to that dramatic pause, like in spaghetti westerns, that dramatic effect, and maybe it's just being overplayed a little bit. I don't know, but the pacing felt good to me. Maybe not so much to many others, but maybe some of it is they're supposed to be more control over their emotions, and if we're using that, or if they're leaning towards that samurai comparison, then even more so robotic, like human actions become more like samurai, where they're even more in control of their emotions, and they're just I don't know how to put it into words.
So a lot of things I normally won't even bring that up because a lot of things move slow to me. Like I watch most YouTube videos on 2x. I listen to, you know what I mean? I listen to my audiobooks on 2x and stuff like that. So I mean, normally I don't mention those things. I've heard other people say it though, you know, but I don't know. I don't even know if it's pacing because when the pace picks up, it's good. There just seems to be like, man, if we keep these parts at this pace, we're gonna only have like a 18-minute show. So we better do 7 minutes of Ahsoka and Sabine training with sticks.
I honestly, I think it's just poor editing because you know how those scenes are filmed, right? It's multiple cameras. They'll have a scene, they'll have a camera on this person, a camera on that person, and this isn't necessarily filmed in fluent conversation style. So when they're editing these two different cameras together, that editor isn't cutting it tight enough. It's just poor editing, to be honest.
In 10 years, when AI technology is up to par, I'm going to put Ahsoka. I'm going to have AI edit Ahsoka, and I'm going to have AI edit Wonder Woman 84 because I think Wonder Woman 84 a lot better with some cuts also, you know. So
it's going to be a short movie.
Yeah. I don't need her staring at fireworks and stuff. I'm waiting. That's what I'm waiting for in Ahsoka is like they're going to be driving and she's going to be staring at fireworks. Actually, they did do that in Mandalorian. Grogu was just staring at the whale. I was like, oh, a whale, you know, in when they were in warp speed.
Her aft section. Yeah, there's a lot of funny memes going around. They have absolutely memed Harris cakes, like so much.
They do a lot of bottom. I just thought I was a pervert, but I guess they do, huh?
No, they're doing fan service.
Yeah,
they're definitely doing fan service.
They're aware of the assets. But
do you like Hera? Do you like the actress for Hera? You guys like the actress for Hera?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
I think she's one of the more lively performances we're seeing.
Yeah. I didn't think her face really matched at first, but she's grown on me over these episodes.
I remember Hera being more emotional or more quick to spout off in Rebels and Clone Wars, and I feel like the beginning of the show so far it's been a little bit flatter than I would have liked to, but I think she fits the bill. It's just like a lot of other people said, it's like these actors are asleep a little bit. Like, wake them up.
I think they're trying. I don't know, but you could chalk it up to like they're trying to make Ahsoka stoic. They're trying to make Sabine in mourning, like still from Ezra. And then you have Hera, who's like constantly dealing with the bureaucracy bull crap and going against them and bringing her kid along and having, you know, like compared to those two. And then you have Balin, who's just broken soul, you know, and Ren, who's just like quiet as a mouse.
And then
the witch lady just stares at the constellations all day long. So it's just Hera's all we got.
You got Chopper. Don't forget Chopper.
And Chopper. Yeah, I thought so. For me, Andor was good because it felt like that too. There was this just emptiness, fogginess going on around it. But I guess it's happening across the board for these Star Wars shows. But it worked. It worked for Andor.
For like context for me, like again, like all I've seen of Hera outside of this is just those first 10 episodes of Rebels, and she could easily be replaced with a droid without a voice box. Like she hasn't served any purpose other than driving a ship so far.
Yeah,
I mean they're clearly building stuff up, like she's like keeping her contacts a secret from Sabine and building trust through these little like notes along the way, but she hasn't done much yet, you know, other than just be Kanan's wife. That's all she's done.
You're talking about in the cartoon Rebels.
Yeah, in the first 10 episodes.
Yeah. I mean,
I haven't made it farther than that yet.
Yeah. I have to remember in that period. I mean, because the focus is on the Jedi stuff, right? In the book where Kanan and her meet, in the book, Women Drivers. In the book where her and she's a single mom, I expect it's funny. In the book where her and Kanan meet, I said I don't read the books, and I'm referencing all the books I've read.
Reference away. I love the concept.
Yeah. In the book where her and Kanan meet, she's she's definitely the star of that book. It's a prequel to Rebels, right? And she's definitely the one that's like, we got to join the rebellion. This is before she knows, I think, that there's a wider rebellion, but we got to do something against it. Like, she's very focused on that. And Kanan is mostly like wanting to do more or less what Ahsoka does, is just sort of like fade off into the sunset.
Now, who is Kanan? Like, they don't give it. I haven't gotten any backstory to this guy yet in these episodes or anything. Like, he's clearly trained up in a Jedi. He's a terrible teacher, but he's got all the capabilities. He's clearly
Well, you'll get he has great growth and a great storyline. Also, if you remember the beginning of was it Bad Batch? Or maybe Clone Wars that led into Bad Batch. That kid is him.
Yeah, beginning of Bad Batch.
The beginning of Bad Batch, yeah.
It runs up to the group and the orders given kind of thing.
The orders given, that's Kanan
cool.
Yeah. So that's his story of his master being killed and him getting away and stuff.
Okay. So I watched the first episode of Bad Batch 3 times now. Just the first episode, because I've tried to watch it and I wanted to like it, and I never get past it and I never get back to it. So I always start back over. So I remember them being out there around all the rocks and shooting down that. They said, Kanan's master. Okay.
That's
and they're chasing.
I really like it.
It's like, we're not going to hurt you, kid. Bow, 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 bow. Stop running. Bow, bow,
I really
bow,
like
bow.
Bad Batch. I know some people had mixed feelings about it, but I really like Bad Batch. It had some nice payoff. Answered one of the main questions of time between you knocked up Hera. Yeah, at the end. That's probably, by the way, the worst part of Rebels to me was between season 3 or 4. I don't remember if you remember this, if you guys remember this between seasons 3 and 4, that suddenly they were a couple.
Yeah, it didn't seem very natural. It just weird.
You always had that little like thing between them, even in the book and stuff. Nothing happened, and then season 4 came out. I was like, oh yeah, we're boning.
Wait, they're not. I assumed that from episode 1, the way that they interacted with each other.
Yeah, there was just always that, and that would have been cool. Like if the show would have gone on and they would have had their moment, and okay, we're not just friends, but it does just go. You have all that tension, not really tension. Just there's even a point where you're like, maybe it's a kids show, and they just don't want to show them like in bed together or something. I don't know. But then in season 4, they're just together. It's just it's just like a wink, like we all knew. It's the chat going nuts. Normally, it's me putting chats off the rails, so
I figured it'd be beneficial to have you on the panel. Well, what are y'all's hopes for now? We're halfway through. What are your hopes for the rest of this? Because we pretty much beat this episode down as far as we can beat it down. Unless y'all got anything that's that we haven't hit on, you want to touch too.
I personally hope that there's some sort of resolution to the series, because if they're just setting up the movie, it's going to be such a long wait that it's going to lose any momentum that it possibly had.
You're right about that. I wasn't even thinking about that, because there's no way that movie, and you don't want them to rush it, and they're probably setting up Thrawn to come. So,
and it's supposed to wrap up Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Ahsoka, and now supposedly there's still supposed to be some sort of, if not a 4th series of Mandalorian, at least maybe a couple movie type things that are gonna happen instead, and like 2 or 3 hour episodes as opposed to like 8 episodes, 81 hour episodes. So it's just gonna be I'm gonna probably love the fact how they do it, but I'm gonna say to myself, I can't believe I'm gonna have to wait years and years for this to be resolved.
Yeah.
So what are y'all thoughts? Like, what are the possibilities of bringing Boba Fett? What are the possibilities of bringing Boba Fett into this series? Like, not taking his helmet off, not going that route, but just Boba Fett, because he was part of. I only know he was part of Heir to the Empire because like I saw this awesome 2-pack toy that came with one of the comics for Heir to the Empire. I'm like, hey, that's an awesome Boba Fett figure. And that's a character that needs some redemption. And like you pointed out, like it's supposed to be some kind of resolution for all of these shows, and he's included in that. So y'all think he has the potential to pop up in this?
They made him the new Hondo, so I don't know.
God, you're right. Oh. There's got to be some sort of reward for this season.
Yeah, I want to see Cad Bane come back too. We talked about this already. I just wanted to see them do like a a Star Wars Bounty Hunters TV show where every episode is a one shot. Give me Jango Fett in episode 1 back in his day. Give me Cad Bane in an episode. Like, just give us Star Wars Tales Bounty Hunters.
Cad Bane episode. When John was complaining, John's Comments with Kids was complaining about the first 2 seasons. Now maybe it was Andy that he was texting with. It turns out maybe, I don't know. He goes, everyone keeps telling me after the first 2 seasons, and I'm like, who's telling you that? We need to deal with them. The Cad Bane, because I went back and looked. I remember it being tough too, but I had watched it in such, just randomly, and then it got on streaming, and then I watched it when I could. You know what I mean? I didn't have this internet crap where I had to watch things on time, and I went back and looked at some of the episodes. There were some great episodes. There's that dinosaur episode. It's not a dinosaur, but that giant thing with the plates, that the Emperor ends up taking. You guys remember what I'm talking about? There's the Cad Bane episode. It ends up that giant monster. It's basically a kaiju. So there's an episode where it's on its planet, and then it ends up on Coruscant. You guys know which one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and then the Emperor, and then they figure out how to beat it, and the Emperor goes, "Oh, I will take it for my own," or whatever. Right. That's in the first season. Those are great. The Cad Bane stuff is awesome.
My son rewatches that constantly for that kaiju monster.
Yeah, wasn't Rex like the only clone to actually be able to push back against Order 66? Not completely and fully, but wasn't he the one that was hesitating? Go.
He's not the only one. He's just the one that they spent the most time focusing on.
I couldn't remember if it was Rex or Cody that did that, because one of them they actually spotlighted that was holding back, gun pointed at the head, just holding back, not flexing. Rex had the 2 guns, right?
Yeah, I have
the white with the blue trim and the 2 guns, and then Cody.
It's definitely Rex. It's definitely Rex, because Rex is the built-up character. He even has a part in Rebels. You know what I mean? So it had to be Rex. If there is one, it has to be Rex. But I'm trying to think if there's others that were able to.
Commander Cody was always a reoccurring one. He was even in the live action movies, for a small part.
Oh,
Rex deserves some closure in this, and I think that's what Rob's getting to or pointing towards. Is my wife said the exact same thing. You can't finish season 1 of Ahsoka without having Rex in there somehow, even if they don't finish his story out there, because essentially Rex is one of the handful of Star Wars characters that spent the most time with Ahsoka through Clone Wars and everything. That was her right hand guy. It's her general, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to see him there, but I think you can give him his proper due in a show like Bad Batch, where it's expected he can get more than just being the side character. They can actually give him a whole season with the Bad Batch crew or something,
So maybe get him in here and then finish out his story in there.
Something like that. Yeah, I'd like to see him in Ahsoka too.
Well, that's all I got on Ahsoka tonight. That's about it for me. Y'all got anything else y'all want to hit on?
Dude, yeah, we should do a group chat. Everybody that's gonna sit down and watch it Tuesday night at 9, and we just have a group chat.
You'll be live, won't you? You're typically live when it airs.
Yeah, but I can sit there and follow over the chat after. We're still gonna do Comic News Weekly at 9. We'll watch Ahsoka at 10.
Yeah, we watch it. We watch over here. We watch it a little bit late because the kids are up. So for me, it's 6. It premieres at 6, but we watch it at 9 p.m. I'm in Vegas, so.
And I will not be going to the cinema to see it because there's already a wait list.
Already a wait list. Yeah. I didn't expect that. You know where I did expect it? When I went to watch the Inhumans in the theater. There were 3 people there. There were 3 people. I was like, it's an MCU thing, even if it sucked. No one knew it sucked yet. I watched the premiere and I was like, man, and they didn't they didn't spend a lot of money, but whenever I think about a Marvel movie or a big movie and you go, wow, what do they really need to spend that much money? I always think of the Inhumans because no one knew it sucked and there was no one in that and they didn't spend any money saying it was in theaters. So that does suck that there's a wait list though.
Mm. Yeah. Well, do you want to hit on some comics before we head out of here? This was definitely not the biggest week, but it was a solid week. There's a couple bangers to talk about.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Crickets from the bottom row.
I said let's do it.
I did my perfect
Okay.
usual job of forgetting to read my last like handful of books this week. Yeah.
That's
What did
perfect.
you-
Well, I'm going to tell you one that I would suggest reading, especially because I'm sure it's just a mini series. So when it comes out, check it out. It's very unique, but this is called Godzilla. Here There Be Dragons. This is a Godzilla story. Takes place in the pirate days in the Bahamas, and basically the Queen's people are trying to torture a pirate into explaining where the gold is, basically, and it's a twisted tale of it getting shipwrecked on Monster Island, and things just go from bad to worse to incredibly worse. Now you have like competing different pirates out for the treasure and everything, and the island is completely unforgiving. And Inaki Miranda, the same guy who did the We Live, is doing the covers and the interiors. It's phenomenal story. It's really good. Even if you're not typically a Godzilla reader, this one's so out of the normal, like kind of stuff that they do, that it's very unique. It's good. Stands on its own.
So I have a question though. Wasn't Godzilla trapped until a nuclear explosion released him?
No, apparently not.
Okay.
There's lots of Godzilla continuities. Is this the book? Yeah, I've heard a couple people talking about it. Open it. Can I see the art real quick in it?
Mm-hmm.
Are there a couple Godzilla books coming out right now? Or is this the
Yeah,
only one?
there's Godzilla Rivals that's coming out right now that's like featured and focusing on different villains. I picked up one of those. This is the only one that like I've been like picking up on my pull list.
That's nice.
Yeah, that looks cool. I think there's another.
How impressive was the Apple Plus trailer for the Godzilla series?
For the Monarch series. So there's this that's coming out. There's how IDW does those best of, like best of TMNT, best of Transformers. They're doing a best of Godzilla.
I didn't watch that trailer, but I really
Justice League versus Godzilla and Kong in October next month.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that does sound cool. They that TV show though, is it connected to the movie universe? Okay.
Yeah, so the Monarch Legacy of Monsters takes place after the 2014 Godzilla film, the aftermath of that, him first coming to land kind of thing.
But before Godzilla versus Kong?
Before Godzilla versus Kong was King of the Monsters. Before King of the Monsters was the 2014 one. It was the first legacy, legendary Godzilla movie under Legendary Pictures. That's like the MonsterVerse with Monarch. That's the legendary Godzilla, not the Toho, not the Shin. There's all kinds of different Godzilla movie franchises. There's even the Netflix with Godzilla Earth.
Yeah, I'm talking about the last 5-6 years, right? There's 2 Godzilla movies, 1 Kong movie, and 1 Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah, so on that hand, if you go to the very first one that came out on your little fingers there, the TV show will come directly after it. It'll serve as a follow-up to the first Godzilla and a prequel story to Monarch's origin. You'll like John Goodman's even in there because Kong Skull Island is the first one, like it goes back to the 70s,
Wait, and Monarch is the kaiju from the other planet, right?
No, Monarch is the agency, the
agency. I'm getting my
Godzilla. Aware of all this. It's been tracking the monsters. It's been following them, keeping them secret. It has all the military installations. They're the ones that are aware of them. That's who went to Skull Island. That's who the doctor who knew about Godzilla and everything that Ken Watanabe played. He's the head of Monarch in the first 2 movies and stuff. But you'll see Kurt Russell playing one of the agents of Monarch post Godzilla 2014. And then they have his son, his real life son. God, what is that kid's name?
Wyatt
Russell.
Something Russell.
Yeah, he played U.S. agent in the Disney stuff, the MCU stuff. He's playing Kurt Russell's same character in the flashback stuff. So they have a real life father and son playing the same character in 2 different time periods. So it should be cool.
Well, it was like when we moved from Star Wars to Godzilla, like you two switched roles.
That's funny. I watched them all and I loved them. I watched them all like in a tight time period to be ready for King Kong versus Godzilla, and then I just forgot them.
Yeah, and then we have the next installment that'll be dropping next year, Godzilla X Kong: A New Empire, where you'll get the follow up of what's going on in Hollow Earth with Kong fighting against the great ape Scar, which is an orangutan that is that's ruling down there terribly. And there's also Space Godzilla, a version of like the legendary version of Space Godzilla is supposed to be getting introduced. And most excitingly, though, I think is Godzilla -1, the next Toho Godzilla film, will be releasing in America on December 1st, which that takes place directly after World War II bombs fell. That's going to be insane. So you have a Japanese installment, the legendary movies, and the TV show. So there's a lot of Godzilla content coming.
I mean, you can only do so many kaiju films, like.
I disagree.
No, I mean, not for entertaining. I mean, from like, okay, we rebuilt the entire world again.
Yeah.
They were basically.
That's what's interesting with using the how they introduced Hollow Earth into the legendary stuff. So like you don't have to destroy a city, just take the fight down there.
Yeah.
I'm making some toast with butter and jelly. Anyone want one? Perry would definitely want one. Paul, what's something you picked up this week?
No peanut butter?
Well, we'll talk about this tomorrow morning, but the second part of the Gotham War came out. And the other thing was Fire and Ice Smallville was surprisingly, I know you didn't get that, Mark, but it was surprisingly good. And I'll say 4 words that may pique your interest, Mark, and it's issue 2, Ambush Bug.
Skipping.
Who's writing Fire and Ice? Who's writing it?
It's something Tanner, I think it is.
Tanner. Yeah, because when Fire and Ice came out, I go, oh, well, maybe what they're doing, Tom King comes and like does what he wants, and then they got to do like flash forward, or where they like sort of not fix it, but put the toys back in the toy box essentially. I thought Fire and Ice might be that because Ice is essentially a murderer.
And Fire is essentially their worst friend ever. Codependency to the max, those two.
Yeah. So I was hoping like if that turns out to be good, okay, I got a motorcycle coming. Sorry.
I'm not talking about
it. So what was Fire? What was it even about? Like Fire and Ice book in 2023.
They basically they moved to it's kind of in the vein of the silly stuff like Giffen and DeMatteis and Maguire used to do. They moved to Smallville. They were supposed to move to the Kent farm. They decide not to move to the Kent farm. They get their own place. They open up a hair salon. So they there's all these type of and wackiness ensues.
And wackiness ensues.
And then what Ice feels though she needs, she basically is they don't scissor. Ice feels as though she needs. Fire feels as though she needs something to restart her career, and so she feels as though she needs to really kind of get into this big fight and destroy somebody in a fight. So she calls up Ambush Bug, and at the end of and invites him to come to Smallville so she can beat the crap out of him, and that's where we end issue number 1. He says basically, I'll be there.
Well, I'm excited to hear Ambush Bugs here. I just don't know I guess like my whole thing is like it's hard enough to keep up with my pull list with the time constraints. I don't know what really a Fire and Ice book is really going to add to the greater DCU now.
It is not going to be part of the spine of the DC universe, if that's what you're asking about.
No, I had no illusions it would be. Andy, were you able to read anything this week? Catch up on any backlogs or anything?
Yeah, I did read Dark Droids 2. And I'm really happy this is out after so much burnout from Marvel and crossover events and just big events struggling to keep up with those kind of things. Like Marvel, let's prop up an underselling book by making a crossover event and something else. Dark Droids is kind of, I don't know if it's a bigger event, but there's tie-in stuff. There's some other titles that I'm already reading. It doesn't seem like it's going to be too crazy. It feels more manageable. More importantly, one of my favorite things about Star Wars is the technology, the ships, space travel, the droids, and Eternal Spark or Spark Eternal from the last series where they failed to beat the Sith. This leftover spark becomes sentient, starts taking over droids, and starts running rampant. And it's essentially like if Chopper unhinged, wanted to murder everything and take over every droid that he can connect to. I'm really loving this, and I'm like sad that I didn't spend more time reading books, but I got this one in, and this was probably the most important book out of my Pulse series this week to read. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with this. It's Soul. If Charles Soule is on a Star Wars read, I've got to read it.
So
let me ask you a question, Andy. Do you feel I kind of feel as though Star Wars is becoming the Batman of the Marvel comics? There are just so many titles now that it's tough for me to try to commit to all of them. Do you agree with that or no?
Yeah, I agree, but you don't have to. I buy them all, so I'm that guy. But you don't have to. You could not read High Republic, and then you just save yourself.
I'm like Chris. I buy them all, and then the ones that I'm less interested in, I save up for a rainy day. And I should probably just buy the trades, but I don't need to if I've got all the single issues. I prefer to read single issues or digitally. But I think Spider-Man is the Marvel version of Batman with the too many titles and too many other things. Star Wars, is going to come in a very close second to what you're saying for sure, because they it's pretty clear they sometimes put Star Wars books out just to put out something on the shelf for Star Wars, because it seems like through this year, it seems like almost every week there's something Star Wars related to buy. When it used to be you get a month off, you get some breathing room to catch up on Star Wars, and maybe shift your focus to something so you don't get burnt out. I feel like 2022 into 2023 has been constant, unyielding Star Wars releases. From
I mean, I only get Darth Vader and the Star Wars proper book. Those are the only two that I buy.
Yeah, if you bought two more in the event, whatever event's happening, then you would have everything you needed. Probably you got Afra bounty hunters,
the regular Star Wars run.
You said the regular Star Wars, right?
Right. Yep.
There's Darth Vader, bounty hunters, Afra, and the regular Star Wars run, and then whatever event is happening.
Yeah, the Dark Droids book itself.
Yeah,
number 2 came out.
When Mark said that he wanted a bounty hunter show where it was just a one shot, what I thought, and that would be a cool show, don't get me wrong, but what I immediately thought is what you two are talking about is that Star Wars does know, like Marvel does know, like based on the sales of their number 1 book, their number 2 book, number 3 book, they know that they can shoot out. They know they could put some other crap out there, and they do these one shots periodically every year that right now, like it's to commemorate Return of the Jedi, so there's like a Max Rebo one shot. A few years ago they did one shots for the Age of Rebellion and those are complete trash. They're terrible books. All they do, every now and then there's a good one, but for the big characters, all they do is just make a story about their general attitude at the time, and so I like that. Okay, maybe a Max Rebo book because it's so random, or we don't know what's happening in Jabba's palace. So I sort of like that a little bit because the Return of the Jedi is being a little more focused. But like you guys said, they do just pack it on the shelf, and if they're short with their main titles, then they're gonna put some some sneaky, irrelevant filler sort of one shot book out there.
Sounds like an annual, like a standard annual for Marvel or DC.
It is like an annual, except it's not thick. It's the regular 22 pages or whatever. So, yeah, those are the 4 you need, and then, and then Crimson Reign there were 3 events that really covered. It's sad when a character gets the comics, though, they're done using them. So I was excited when I saw Kira there from the Han Solo movie. But then I go, well, she's done. You know what I mean? We're never going to see her again in a movie. She's gone.
They killed her in the book?
No.
They did not kill her in the book. She actually can show up at a different point, which is sort of cool. But she did lose, and she was a badass. They actually really did. They did her good, her character good, continuing through those 3 big events. But yeah,
like a huge undertaking to try to keep all these comics that come out every month canon to the greater concepts and stuff.
Yeah, well, Star Wars and X-Men, they hooked me in, and it's made me not read like Image books and stuff like that, or wait for trade more, which is better. Those are better read in trade anyway. But
no, I agree. I've been burning through some Image trades lately.
Yeah.
And I did go to Ollie's. I took your recommendation and went to Ollie's, and I was this close from buying a cartload of DC stuff, but I couldn't do it. They had the new 52 hardcovers, volumes 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. Like I was so close to having a whole like $3 or $4 or $5 a piece, something like that. And I'm digging through every shelf, and I'm getting boxes out to stand on to get to the top shelf. Couldn't find the volume 1, volume 2, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't walk out and then not have the other ones match when I go do it, because New 52 Batman's it's phenomenal run, excuse me. And that's one that I just didn't want to walk out there with just half of the full volume of books, because those Ollie's books are either not going to be reprinted again or whatever. So trying to find them to get a matching set was going to probably be really impossible. But
you might have some luck on eBay, or you might not. You just never know, kind of thing.
I did find a really, really, really important book, though, and that book has one question for you, Mark. Do you
Go for it.
Do you know what kind of candy a happy cowboy eats?
What kind?
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers, yep.
That was easy.
That book was $2.99, and I bought it.
It was a book full of dad jokes for those that couldn't figure it out already. Chaos, what was something that you read this week that new to you?
I caught up on a book that had a minor controversy a few weeks ago.
Oh.
Are you all the way caught up on that?
Variant. Huh?
Are you all the way caught up on that series?
Has something happened in Ghost Rider since the Wolverine? Yeah, that's Omega.
That's part 3. So part 4 came out this week. Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. It's here somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
That was next on my list. The Marvel event. I liked it.
Yeah, it's solid. So the previous run at Ghost Rider was also very good, and it got murdered by the pandemic, and then got a half-assed ending during the Knoll, and a spin-off during Knoll. So it was good too, but they both those writers are like, listen, Ghost Rider, I know Ghost Rider's from the 70s, but it is like this quintessential 90s character. Put him on covers. He's got a flaming skull and stuff. And back in the 90s, they never missed an opportunity to let Ghost Rider and Wolverine and even Hulk or the new Fantastic Four, for example, they never let an opportunity pass to get a crossover with those big Marvel's 90s characters. And that's what this is. And it's just cool. It's just cool that Wolverine sort of works his way in again. And I liked it. It is sort of funny because, the way he left Krakoa right before the fall of X was clearly to just come into this crossover here. So who knows how he'll work himself back in to the X-Men stuff. But, there was a big issue. And then in the last panel, for no reason, Wolverine goes, I'll tell you this, I'm done with Krakoa. And he just jumps off, presumably to go see what's happening with his buddy Johnny Blaze. So anyway, I liked it. It was a solid horror book. You know what I mean? I like this Ghost Rider run better than Immortal Hulk, which I guess is my hot take about it. Maybe the art isn't as great, but I think this artist though is legitimate.
No, he fits it perfectly, and I've compared it to Immortal Hulk numerous times in my praises about it, in the tone and style and like the pacing of the storytelling, but with the big hits. The transformations, whenever the writer comes out, every one of them has been different so far, and every one of them has been grotesque.
Yeah, they're all like these horror ones where he's like now he's like, instead of just turning into him or whatever, he's like tearing off his face and stuff, or Ghost Rider's like breaking out of Johnny Blaze's chest cavity. So they were very cool doing that.
This
and
was
just showing that
pretty dope. You had like the big reveal was that it was a demon, that Mephisto gets bored in hell sometimes and creates things. And he created this demon to take tortured souls and make pieces of art out of them. And once it gets on Earth, it's pointed at mutants and it's killing mutants. And it almost looks like some twisted stuff you'd see in like the goriest episodes of Dexter you can imagine, like these human bodies that are mutilated and set up and satanic looking altars and stuff.
First season that Detective, yeah.
And basically Wolverine, this is kind of repetitive with the Ghost Rider stuff, I guess. But you have like, it's a big crossover. Wolverine has like the rider being channeled into him via like Weapon X technology. So there's helmets and stuff like that. But you have a face off of like a juiced up Wolverine with Ghost Rider, which I thought was really cool. There's one scene where Wolverine is like screaming and a chain is coming out of his mouth. And I thought it was cool. Like Ghost Rider kind of goes OP and like just like you just see that he doesn't really care. Like he's not worried about the threat in front of him. And in that moment, even though we didn't really live in it for long, like it really hit. There's just, like you said, something about this writer, this Benjamin Percy writer. He can tell a really good story and make really big moments happen in really small amounts of time. And I really enjoyed it.
I would say Benjamin Percy is somewhat equal on the DC side to what's his name that just wrote the Night Terrors book, Joshua Williamson. Yeah, like where he just writes a solid superhero book. You know, I don't know that Joshua Williamson is never going to be Tom King or this big huge writer. They're big enough, right? They're on the big books and stuff, right? But just knows how to pace a 5-part series or something like that, and he's done really well with that. He does well with it in X-Men too, or the books that he writes, the other Marvel books that he writes. The difference is they give Josh Williamson big characters and the big
he's the current continuity architect at DC. He's in the big boy chair right now.
Yeah. So I know that's what he's doing now. So I'm more thinking like the Josh Williamson during Flash and stuff like that.
Yeah,
where he's just writing solid stuff. And
so here's this was my blind pick going into the week. So get out your tinfoil hats. This one was a blast for me. But Zach Thompson wrote this book for Boom Studios. It's Hunt for the Skinwalker, issue number 1.
That's coming in the mail for me. I'm a huge Zach Thompson fan. So
what else has he done? The name sounds familiar. I can't place him with anything. Yes.
You got it too. Mine's coming in the mail, so
I want to read it.
Yeah.
So I'm not. There's really not much to spoil here, but the premise is all like someone needs to know to go pick it up if this is your jam. So Skinwalker Ranch is like known as like the paranormal, mysterious hotspot of all of America. It's literally a ranch, old Native American land. There's so many different UFO conspiracy, supernatural myths and lore tied to it over the different residents of that ranch over the years. There's countless documentaries you can watch on that ranch. There's even a show running on Netflix kind of thing about it. And there's different myths about it, whether it be aliens, whether it be natural phenomenon, whether it be skinwalker spirits of Native Americans and stuff. And this book is going to dive into the experiences of a specific family that spent time living on that ranch. And so if any of that stuff is your jam, if you like diving into those kind of mysteries that are grounded in real life experiences, like you can't speak on the validity of aliens being confirmed, but these people live there and this is their story being told, take it how you will kind of thing through the lens of a comic book medium. And I really enjoyed it. I eat this kind of stuff up. I love a good tinfoil hat story. They're really fun. That little bit of realism to it, knowing that these people are saying this is what happened to them, just adds that little extra level for me that I was all in for this one when I saw it was coming out and added it to my pull list ahead of time. And I'm excited for the next issue.
Looking forward to reading it. Just reading the premise of the story off of League of New Comic Geeks the other week before it came out, I was like, this sounds really good. It kind of tugged at my 90s X-Files heartstring kind of deal.
Yes.
He just finished Nature's Labyrinth for I don't know who. I think maybe Volt. I can't remember who wrote that. And he's done a bunch of stuff for Aftershock, which I think he's one of the guys that didn't get paid towards the end there. But
that's not funny. I don't know
I
why
Breathe the Body. Yeah.
So is that like a Y-Files episode in comic form, Mark? Is that what you're talking about?
AJ hasn't touched on that yet, but again, there's countless content for that. Like right now, I think it's an investment firm that owns that ranch that has actually hired people to go out there and study it and stuff like that. Wow. And they even had camera crews going with them a few years ago doing it. Like it's legitimate. One of the like that movie Nope, that Jordan Peele movie Nope.
Yeah.
Where there's no way that movie wasn't inspired by stories of Skinwalker Ranch. Like they're out on the ranch and they just went the UFO angle with it kind of thing. Like the weird stuff happening. Like it's wild. It's just fun stuff. The mysteries of the world we live on. What's another one for you, Paul?
Actually, I think that was it. It was kind of a small week for me.
Oh man, you didn't read JSA?
Oh, yes, I did. Sorry, I did read JSA. Sorry. I didn't put it in my pile for some reason.
This was a banger.
Yes.
The second story.
Only Jeff Johns can rewrite the entire golden age of DC.
Yeah. And that's what he's done here. This was really cool. This is we saw all these lost golden age sidekicks and legacy characters get introduced in this Stargirl miniseries earlier this year, and this is the first issue in the second arc, and all these characters are coming home, being introduced to their mentors, their parents that never even knew they were missing, and at the sight of each other, all their memories come back to them. Jay Garrett has a daughter named Judy that goes by Boom, who has the super speed ability, and just seeing all this kind of stuff and how they're going to be integrated into the DC universe is very interesting. And what got me the most was at the end of this, one of these JSA teams, because it spanned a lot of time and space through this new Golden Age stuff. And in one of the futures, the JSA was built of a bunch of reformed villains. So Huntress making that statement like, we waited so long to start helping these people that could be saved. I don't think we need to wait. We need to start looking now. And who we need to find first. And the last page was a Solomon Grundy splash. So I'm pumped for that. Like, to get Solomon Grundy into a JSA title where he belongs, like close to Green Lantern and everything. So I'm all for what they got going on with that.
Yeah, definitely. It was a long time coming. Hopefully now, since the original artist didn't do this past issue, hopefully it'll come out on a more regular basis. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely worth the wait. And there's some things that may be going on with Dr. Fate as well, possibly. There's, so there's lots of different. As usual, Jeff Johns is not only rewriting, the history of some DC universe, but he's also putting out some new mysteries as well. So,
how's that working in the continuity, though? Is it stories that have just happened in the past, or is there like there's some future convergence happening, but a new name since they did that?
So what they've done is they put it under what's called the new Golden Age banner. They did this one shot where it was kind of just telling its story. It wasn't outside of continuity, but they weren't intertwining with other characters or other events kind of thing. And starting with this issue, having stopped Degaton, who's a time traveling villain. That's where he was going through all of time, past and future, killing JSA teams, trying to eradicate all of them. That was the story that just wrapped up. So starting with this issue is they're bleeding it into the Dawn of DC banner. Like, you see, I don't know if you're reading Peacemaker Tries Hard, which feels like its own entity, but a character that was introduced in here, you see his sidekick brought in that issue, his lost sidekick kind of thing. You see Batman talking to Huntress, but not Helena Bertinelli, not the one you see in Birds of Prey that's the daughter of a gangster, the original Huntress that is the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman from Earth 2 back in the day. She's here now, and she's talking to Bruce Wayne and referencing the Gotham War that just kicked off. So as far as the delays and stuff, I think that they did good job, like, making up for it. Like, it was on purpose, kind of, because like the writing is now perfectly timed with continuity of what's going on in other titles and dropping points, letting you know that, okay, this is all on board, moving forward together now. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of little Easter eggs.
When those Golden Age books, when they started coming out months ago, they interested me. So I might do the DCUI thing on them.
Yeah, they're really good. Mm-hmm. It's Jeff Johns. I mean, it's Jeff Johns. And like his passion project is Stargirl and the Golden Age characters. He doesn't miss. Mm-hmm. I would say you need to read Flashpoint Beyond, that little mini series that he did right before it, because it Easter eggs into it, like it sets it up. That's where like the lost children first get mentioned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we touched on Ahsoka for like the first hour. So definitely hit that rewind. There's a lot of Star Wars talk there.
And then we finished Ahsoka and we started talking about Star Wars comics. So there's plenty of Star Wars today.
But I'll run through this one quick. Peacemaker was fun. It was just the battle between Brain and Peacemaker to get his dog back. There's one more issue to go. It ends on a crazy note where Brain puts his mind into the body of Kimmo, the living biological nuclear weapon. So who knows how this is going to go? It's zany. It's very R-rated. It's hilarious. It's action-packed. It's exactly what it's been this whole time. It just keeps hitting. It doesn't stop. Shazam was good. This has been good consistently as well. We're back into the regular Dawn of DC now that we're after Night Terrors. And the whole pantheon of gods that bestow this power to him is now revealed to be taking turns playing with their control over their abilities that he has. They're not happy with the way he does his job, so he's afraid to turn into the captain in fear that he's going to lose control. And you're getting to see like the side effects of having this power for so long and then watching the world go by without ever using it and feeling that guilt and what am I letting happen kind of thing. So Mark Waid, again, another one of those writers that doesn't miss. And the last one I read this week was a retro title, Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy. I love all these retro titles. Takes place between the panels of the 1990s run. Legacy there, Captain Marvel's son is always cool. Another Mephisto book. You have them almost doing a little homage to like the Galactus from what was it, Rise of the Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four. There's this entity in space that it kicks off with them having to stop, and Surfer flies into the heart of it and does the whole thing to blow it up, just like the end of Fantastic Four. And then Silver Surfer convinces Legacy to go with him to get the time stone so they can go back in time and he can see his father for the first time. Takes a lot of convincing, but they finally do it. And once they do, he reveals that he's Mephisto and he leaves him there and has the stone. So it's an Infinity Stone story. You got Captain Marvel and Legacy in the book. And if you enjoy those old Night Surfer books, it's
I'm in the middle of a reread of, so not a reread, but the expanded read of the Infinity War. I don't even think I've read the other parts besides Infinity Gauntlet, but I want to read all of. I just started, so I want to read all the tie-ins too. And essentially, that Ron Lim, not George Perez, but it's Ron Lim and what's his name that writes Infinity War or Infinity Gauntlet?
Jim Starlin.
Yeah, Starlin and Ron Lim. These Silver Surfer, I started like, that early 90s run. I'm starting at like from like number 30, 35, and they're so good. Like it's this lost period that a lot of these throwback comics are really go to, like, which is like, I would say before, maybe right around or before Jim Lee's X-Men, let's say, and definitely before the Image boom and stuff, right? Where they're like, where everything actually was sort of exciting and interesting, even Spider-Man with Todd McFarlane and stuff. I'm reading those Silver Surfers and it's like, I think I like Jim Starlin a lot more than I maybe previously thought I did. I might have to go dig up my Dread Stars and stuff and read those. But yeah, so I that's why that Silver Surfer throwback looked good to me. But they're just doing so many of the throwbacks. It's hard to keep up with them, like everywhere, like at every turn. X-Men alone has like 3 or 4 going right now.
I haven't picked up any of the X-Men throwbacks.
Yeah.
I almost picked up the Gambit and Storm one, but then I'm like, probably won't.
And those are ones that people haven't really liked. I think I bought all the Storm ones, but I'm a little behind on X-Men, so I don't think I'm going to read them.
Yeah, and, I've done like all the Maestro ones.
Right. Chris Claremont did it right. Everyone thought he did.
What's that?
Huh?
I said the Maestro ones were good. The new Fantastic Four was really good. Silver Surfer Rebirth was good, and I read Genis Vell. I can't think of any of the other ones that I did though.
Yeah, I'd have to think of them for a second, but yeah, the new Fantastic Four was fun.
Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. They just did the 5-issue Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, which was solid.
Yeah, that's not done yet, though, isn't it? Not done
yet. Yeah, it wrapped up last week.
Oh, okay. I didn't
know that was the finale till I read it, and it was kind of a rush finale, but it was fun. It was cool seeing Johnny is just Blaze, again, and Caretaker in there in the middle of the fight with everyone. It just takes. The whole time I'm reading, I'm like picturing those toys from the '90s, like on the page, like I'm playing with them as I'm reading it. This is just fun.
Yeah, they have an issue too, because like it's probably equal the people that want a Danny Ketch and a Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, like to me be the main Ghost Rider, because for so many of us it's actually Danny Ketch. Then we got older, we like learned about Johnny Blaze or whatever, but yeah.
I definitely was aware of him, but I still grew up with Danny Ketch. When anyone was watching the Spider-Man in the '90s, that was Danny that rolled up and stuff. And
yeah, exactly.
But Andy, you got another one to hit?
No, the Hunt for the Skinwalker is one that I want to read before we get to Wednesday, and I pick up more new comic books. And the other side of that Dark Droids portion, Star Wars issue 38, I think, is sitting here ready to read. Yep. So those are the 3 books that I need to read. Oh, Tear Us Apart. This is another one I grabbed that sounded really cool from Dark Horse, #1. If I remember correctly, the premise is there are 2 younger teenagers that are part of a cult, a murderous cult, that fall in love and they try to break free, and then this cult tries to tell them, no, you can't leave.
Do you need to say murderous in front of cult? I'm just asking.
I don't know. I've never been.
If you're Allison Mack, you have to specify.
I've never been a part of one, so you never know.
So yeah, I don't have any more from this week, but I'm gonna have to do like a whole like segment or do a whole like little video series going through like all the Miller World stuff I've been reading because I'm just burning through it. I've just read the last Jupiter's Legacy Requiem. I read Prodigy Volume 1. I'm almost done with Prodigy Volume 2 already, and I've got Superior that are all just new to me. But that's a lot to talk about. Like that's like tons.
Do you like Prodigy? Because that's a book I put down.
Bro, like how far did you get?
3rd or 4th issue of the first volume, and then I knew it was only good 5 or 6. I still put it down.
Yeah, so like all of his stuff is 5 or 6 kind of thing. But and I pointed out earlier when you said it reads better in trade, all this stuff reads so fast, and I couldn't imagine having to wait because it feels like you're just getting little bits in every issue kind of thing. But the first one I thought was definitely solid. It was fast paced. It was really fun. Just watching how this character interacts with the world being like such an intellect, I thought was fascinating. But this second one takes it to a whole nother level. He's not the world's smartest man. The Icarus Society they low key under the radar, like, dude, you're not the world's richest man. You're not even the 8th world's richest man. We got 22 people in this society, all smarter than you and all got more money than you. They're bringing in like Atlantis, Lost Civilizations, Shangri-La, and all this stuff. And he's a pawn to this society. Like this is where it's at. This got us to here. This is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all of that to say it's all for Big Game. Like Big Game was such a fun hit. I'm loving it. If y'all haven't been reading the big Miller World event happening at DC at Image called Big Game, go get it. Go read it and just work your way back. Any characters you find interesting, go get their books and check it out. That is just a fun read. That's all I got. Unless y'all got anything you want to touch on, got to make like a baby and head out. Well, don't forget to hit up Sector 2815 tomorrow at 10 a.m. He's got the DC Deep Dive that'll air, touching on the Gotham War that we're 2 issues into. Wednesday at 9:30 is Guess That Key, CBC Award nominated Guess That Key. So go over there, give him a vote at cbcawards.org. Andy, you're going to be going live on Tuesday.
Yep, Comic News Weekly. We're going to talk about comics curing cancer this week and how they are in need of assistance for the upcoming auction in October, and we'll add some other comic content in there to talk about because Rob said he would be on this Tuesday with us, and we're going to speak about comics curing cancer. I've been invited to host a panel or show during that event, and I'm also sending in a big box of books that I can put together for them.
Excited about all of that. Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic year for that. We got a lot of really, really exciting stuff ironing out there. We're going to be announcing here soon, as well as the show lineup too, the completed show lineup. We're working on filling all that in. Meow. Chaos, what do you got going on?
I just churn out weird videos of things that definitely will make you wish you didn't put the bell on. But so probably an X-Men video, and then some of the weird alt and indie stuff that I read will come out. I was able to record a bunch of stuff. I just slipped in my mind what it was. I'm catching up on Star Wars. So I've read Dark Droids 1, but I was like 3 or 4 issues behind, maybe more like 2 issues behind on each of them. But being 2 issues behind on each book means you're like 10 issues behind. You know what I mean? So, I catch up with some of that and just the sort of randomness I do. So that's it.
All right, so tomorrow I'll have the part 11 of the graded comic collection video go up, and you can enter to win this slab right here on that video, donated by this guy right here. So be sure to check out his channel. That was ridiculously nice of him to donate that slab. And he's giving away a ton of cool stuff. He just passed 100 subscribers recently, and tonight is the last night to enter his 100 subscriber giveaway. So if you haven't done that already, be sure to go over there, check it out. And that Holy Shite is the name of the 100 subscriber giveaway. I mean, it's all in the title. Holy Shite, 100 subscriber giveaway, all that good stuff. Slabs, cool collectibles and everything. Be sure to check it out. Give him one of those subscribies. And that's going to do it for tonight. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Until next time, as always, I'm Mark. We are Legion.